Today on the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement.
We are going to discuss your fears about variable annuities and the excess fees they carry.
And on our Coach's Corner, we're going to go over some questions and concerns and fears that we've been receiving from you, our viewers.
And on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to show you how to take control of your 401k and company plans as you get closer to retirement.
So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Slagle Show starts now.
I'm Chad Slagle. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better. You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches. I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and apply them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm Wendy Erickson, here with the coach, Chad Slagle. Today on the Clipboard segment, we're going to discuss why we learn from our failures and not our successes, especially in retirement.
That's right, Wendy. There are a few things in life that let you do a do-over. And retirement, unfortunately, is not one of them. Over the past 26 years, I've seen a lot of successes and I've seen a lot of mistakes and failures, and it is these failures that we learn from. You know, when the market's going up, you do not make any changes to your portfolios. However, when the market starts to drop, now you start panicking and start making those changes. And the biggest mistake we see day in and day out is the failure to have a financial plan. And that can include a tax plan, an income plan, or an investment plan. And a well-constructed plan has to account for failures and successes. And that's why it's so important to have someone counsel or coach you so you do not get off track. Someone that has seen the mistakes that retirees before you have made and knows how to avoid those pitfalls and those mistakes. Remember, failure doesn't define you, but the way you respond to it does.
Well, that speaks to me on the level of I was doing some home improvements, put up some, well, I didn't put it up, but somebody put up wallpaper in my home the wrong way, and I spent about a week trying to get it down. So to me, small failure doesn't relate to retirement, but yet I learned I will never put up wallpaper again.
So the next time a friend comes to you and says, hey, I know you had wallpaper, what do you recommend? And you're going to say,
don't do it.
So they're going to be able to learn from your mistake or your failure. And that's the key, to learn from others that went before you. You know, some of the mistakes we often see in our practice each and every day with those of you that are retired, or those of you that want to retire in the next 5-10 years, could be I'm taking too much risk, or drawing too much income where your nest egg may run out. Or really what we find a lot is not having a well-constructed plan. And I actually had this happen in our office this past week. I had a couple come in. Luckily, we have them set up with a proactive game plan. We're not reacting to what happens in the market. And they say, Chad, we're glad that we have a plan, but we have a friend who just turned 82 years of age, and he didn't have a plan. Unfortunately, he thought, of course, he's going to be passed away or dead by age 82. The thing is, his 401k, he set it up to get him to a certain age, and now that he's 82 years of age, he had to sell his home. Now he's living in an apartment, and now he's trying to use the equity that he made in his home to live off of, and hopefully that lasts throughout the rest of his life, all because that individual, when he retired, did not have a well-constructed game plan. And that's the failure that we see with a lot of retirees and pre-retirees today, is they do not have that plan. And that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about some concerns and questions that those of you out there that watch the show each and every week have.
Well, my mom always told me you live and you learn, but you learn from the smaller ones, like things like wallpaper, but the big ones, like you said, retirement, you do not want to fail.
You don't want to make the
that.
big one of running out of money. Absolutely
All right.
right.
So we need to pay attention to this show today. We have a lot more information when we return, when I can speak.
There you go.
On the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some of the questions and concerns that we have been receiving from you, our viewers. We'll be right back.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your monies that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement.
The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are back with the coach, Chad Slagle, and his colleague, Chad Tobin. And today in the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss some of the questions, fears, and concerns that we've been receiving from you, our viewers.
That's right, Wendy. Each and every week here on the show, we're trying to bring you new topics to the table that many of you are concerned about. And we've been receiving some great feedback from many of you, whether that is sitting in our offices discussing those fears and concerns you have, or sending emails to us at askchad@slaglefinancial.com, so that we can help you answer these questions, whether it's, again, on our show or really to you individually as you're watching the show today. So we're going to go over a few of the questions that we received and help answer those questions for you. And before we jump in, though, I want to make it very clear why retirement planning is so important today, more than it was, say, 20, 30 years ago. Why? Because 20 years ago, 80% of American workers had a pension. However, today, though, folks, less than 20% of American workers have a pension. So now it's more important than ever to take control of your retirement. You cannot depend on your employer or the government to take care of you. You have to be proactive and build your plan for retirement. That's why we wanted to do today is kind of talk to you about how to prepare for today's retirement, how to overcome some of these fears and concerns that those of you sitting at home have today.
Yeah, and I think, Chad, these questions that we've gotten from the show, from our meetings, and also even, events that we're speaking at, we're hearing some of the same questions and concerns from retirees today, more so than we were, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago. And today we're starting to see that.
Well, I know as a pre-retiree myself, there are questions that I haven't even thought about that I need to ask. So viewers are going to ask them for me today.
That's
I'm very
right.
excited about this segment. Let us jump into the first question. Question number 1. I recently met with an advisor that told me that some of my investments carry high fees. A couple in particular that were pointed out were variable annuities, as well as some mutual funds that I hold inside some of my accounts. Are these higher fee vehicles, something that I should be concerned about? And that comes from Donna M. Good question.
Well, Donna, anytime, and Wendy, anytime that you're paying high fees for something, you need to educate yourself and understand what you're paying for. There's nothing wrong with paying fees, but you need to understand what those fees are. When it comes to variable annuities, in my opinion, variable annuities are one of the worst investment vehicles for retirees. Number one, because they vary, they go up and down, and because they do carry a lot of excess fees. However, I want everyone to understand, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a bad investment vehicle. However, certain vehicles are set up for certain people at certain situations and certain phases of their lives. Variable annuities are set up for younger people that are willing to take some risk, need some tax advantages, and need a lot of life insurance. So you have to understand what phase of life you're in and what vehicles may or may not be right for you.
Yeah, and I think probably the most common thing we see, people come in and they may think they have an annuity in their portfolio, they have some mutual funds, but really they don't really understand why they have the annuity in there, whether it's fixed or variable, and why they even have mutual funds in their portfolio. So, they don't understand why these are in there, and our point is you have to understand the ins and outs of these vehicles and really see if they are in your best interest for retirement.
Yeah, you have to educate yourself. In order to understand, you have to educate yourself on these accounts. Why are you paying the fees? Do they have an income rider? Do you need it for income? Do you need it for death benefit? And I think that's the key, is make sure you're asking, as you are now, Donna, make sure you're asking the right questions.
All right, good answer to Donna's great question. We have another question for you. I am currently 60 years old. I lost over 35% of my portfolio back in 2008. Now I'm wanting to retire in 2 to 3 years and want to understand the amount of risk I'm taking in my portfolio. Is there something out there that can help me understand how much I could lose if I were to go through another downturn like 2008? And that question comes from Jesse R.
Yeah, no question. Again, as you get closer to retirement, it doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, or 60, nobody wants to go through another 2008 where you lost 30 to 40% of your portfolio. So there are ways that you can tell what you're paying in fees, how much risk you're taking with your portfolios. And the way that we're able to do that with our clients is we can do a stress test on your portfolio. We can show you exactly to the penny what you're paying in fees for your accounts. We can show you if the market were to have a 10, 15, or 15% correction like it did back here at the end of 2018, we can show you the way your portfolio is set up right now, how much money you stand to lose. And as we mentioned earlier, you have to educate yourself. We're not saying you shouldn't take risk with your portfolio, and we're not saying you shouldn't pay fees. What we are saying is you need to understand the risk and you need to understand the fees. And the way to do that, Chad, is get an analysis done on your portfolio.
Yeah, and we also see a lot of people, 2008 was a long, long time ago. We've been in this bull market for, almost 10 years now. So people forgot how they were feeling when they did take that hit in their portfolio. But 2018, at the beginning of the year, especially at the end of the year, it's opened some people's eyes, and it's really kind of brought that short-term memory syndrome back to reality. So, yes, we understand the bull market that we've experienced is good. We've all wanted it. But now a very important question that we ask our clients is how much can you stand, how much can you afford to lose in retirement?
All right, our next question comes from Craig J. And he says, I just turned 63 and I want to retire in 2 years. I have a 401k through my employer, but I will not receive a pension when I retire. My 401k has been losing money lately due to the recent market volatility, and I am not very comfortable with that. What steps should I take to protect my money as I get closer to retirement? It's crunch time for him.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and we saw 2008. Luckily, Chad said a lot of you that lost money back in 2008 in your 401ks and in company plans, you made a lot of that back. But then all of a sudden, 2018, it brought all those feelings you had back in 2008 back. So now it's more important than ever, especially as you get closer to retirement, to insulate your portfolio from a downturn in the market. And we talk about 401ks. As Craig here is over 59.5. If you're over 59.5, you can do what's called an in-service withdrawal. You can take control of that 401k. And the reason you want to do that is, number one, it puts you in control of the money, not your employer. Now, also, it gives you a lot more investing options other than what's inside of your account. And there's a lot of other benefits that we're going to go through a little bit later. But it's key when it comes to your money and it comes to retirement. You have to be proactive and you have to take control of your money. Don't depend on somebody else to take care of you.
Yeah, and Chad, I think you mentioned earlier, it really goes back to educating yourself. Craig, you have some options inside your company plan that you may not have been aware of that you can add some protection and insulate that portfolio, but you have to educate yourself and know those options are out there.
And I think another thing is we talk about fees. A lot of people are saying, well, I don't know. They kind of feel bad. Or if their wife asks them, honey, do you know what we're paying in fees? And you say, no. Nobody wants to get in hot water. And what you need to understand, it's not your fault if you do not know what you're paying in fees. 401ks have been around since 1978. However, just 6-7 years ago, the Department of Labor came out in 2012 and said, hey, you need to start telling your employees what they're paying in fees for these 401ks. Some of these are probably your assets that you have right now. So if you don't know exactly what you're paying in fees, it's not your fault. But now it's time to be proactive and educate yourself so you do know.
All right, good advice. Coming up on Chalk Talk, we're going to give you more of the answers and solutions to those questions we just went over. Stay with us.
Okay, let's go.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this or I didn't make this team. That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back once again to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just discussed some of the questions and concerns that we've received from you, the viewers. Now we want to dive in and give you some of the answers and solutions to those questions and concerns a little more in depth.
That's right, Wendy. We want to make it clear. I want to make it clear that everyone is different, and so is your financial situation is different as well. So it's important to create clarity before you build your blueprint or your game plan for retirement. You need to understand, what are your goals in retirement? Is it to make sure that you have an income stream that will last throughout the rest of your life? Or maybe you're one of the lucky ones that has a pension and you don't need extra income. You just want to make sure, though, that your assets are passed on to your children and your grandchildren in the most tax-efficient manner. Whatever your goals are, you have to define them before you can build a plan. And make no mistake, you have to have a plan or a blueprint for retirement. As I said earlier, Wendy, that's the biggest mistake we see with someone who is retired now or getting ready to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, is they do not have that structured game plan in place, or that game plan that they're trying to accomplish as they get closer to retirement.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to that game plan, they can't be cookie cutter. I mean, we're not talking about a cookie cutter plan for everyone. Everyone's situation is different, their risk tolerance, their lifestyle goals, so you have to develop that plan based on you.
All right, so let's go back to that first question from Donna M., and she was worried about high fees.
She was worried about fees on her variable annuities and, of course, mutual funds. And when we talk about fees in a variable annuity really is just a mutual fund in a life insurance wrapper. So there's a lot of excess fees that you have to understand in variable annuities. You know, with the variable annuity, if you were to put in $100,000 and they're going to take your money, they're going to put it in mutual funds, and if it goes down to $80,000, you lost $20,000 of your money. However, if you pass away, the lump sum that will go to your beneficiaries upon death is the $100,000 that you originally started with. So, Wendy, how in the world can that company make up for that $20,000 loss? They charge you fees out of your money each and every year. And that's a fancy name for a life insurance charge, which is called a mortality and expense ratio. Of course, you have mutual fund fees in there. So fees overall with variable annuities are anywhere from 3 to 4% each and every year. And of course, mutual funds, you have loads, you have fund expenses, you have turnover ratio. So again, as we talked about earlier, we're not saying you shouldn't pay fees. We're saying you need to understand the fees. And if you do have a variable annuity, there is a solution. You can get out of those. You can do what's called a 1035 exchange. Take your money from a variable annuity, put it into a fixed annuity where it no longer goes up and down with the market. And also you can get that set up with an income rider that's guaranteed to grow at that 5, 6, 7% each and every year, Chad.
Well, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's very, very important when you're building this plan, you have transparency, you have low cost, and you know exactly if you have an annuity in there, why that annuity is in there for protection, for lifetime income, or for spousal protection for your family. If you have investments in the market, understand lower cost and the risk that you're comfortable with.
All right, and Jesse R.'s question was the next one. He was worried about lots of risk as he approached retirement, and he'd lost some in 2008.
Yeah,
so.
number one, you need to understand how much risk you're taking. As I said earlier, each and every one of you watching the show today, you need to stress test your portfolio, or have a stress test done on your portfolio. You should know exactly to the penny what you're paying in fees for your accounts that you have right now, but also how much risk are you taking. If we're going to have another 15, 20% correction this next year, how would your portfolio react? How much money would you lose the way your portfolio is set up right now? And as we mentioned earlier, Wendy, it's about educating yourself. You know, when we go buy a new car today, nobody pays sticker price for that car. We want to get that car as close to invoice price as we can, but you have to educate yourself. Same thing when it comes to investing your money. You want to try to invest at wholesale cost, not retail cost.
Yeah, and I think it's really knowing your money. And if your money, if we show some software that shows your risk number, for example, is 65, and you tell us that you're only comfortable as a risk number of 35, there has to be some adjustments in there. And so, you know, use some software to help you understand where you're sitting now and the risk you're currently taking.
All right, and finally, Craig J., he's even closer to retirement, and he's concerned. He wants to protect his money.
Yeah, so if you're over 59 and a half, again, if you have a 401k or company plan, you want to take control of that money. And the way you do that is by doing an in-service withdrawal. Take some of that 401k and roll it over to an IRA. Now, understand, You still have your 401k open at work. You keep pumping money at that because hopefully as long as you're working, that's free money your employer's matching you. But all you're doing is taking some of those gains off the table, rolling that money to an IRA, have no tax consequences, but now it puts you in control of the money. Gives you a lot more investing options, can automatically be set up as a multi-generational IRA. And also, because this market is so volatile and as you get closer to retirement, you need to protect that money, there's a lot more safe havens for that money as well.
Yeah, and I think, outside of that company plan, you just have the universe of financial options at your fingertips when you're working with the right firm and right advisors to kind of start building that game plan for you in retirement.
All right, well, when we come back on our strategy play, the Chads are going to help you understand your 401k and company plan options a little bit better.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. On this week's strategy play, we want to discuss your 401ks and company plans. Many of you watching today have your hard-earned dollars in a 401k or company plan. And as you get closer to retirement, the way you view these dollars must change. We want to help you understand how truly diversifying these dollars will help build a more successful retirement plan for you and your family in retirement.
Chad, so often we sit down with people. They're getting ready to retire. They're still, all their money's in these 401ks. They're getting a little bit of guidance, and they get plans that are 30 to 40 pages long to go through, and hopefully these people can understand this retirement plan. But at the end of the day, we have John and Joan who has this 40-page retirement plan. They've got over $1 million in their company plans, and in this plan they've designed, still, their diversification still sits in one world, where at the end of 2008, they were down and lost nearly $100,000 in this plan.
We're $1 million. They need income off of that money. They're closer to retirement. It's about holding on to that $1 million, making that 5, 6, 7% and not get blown up in the market. The problem is with these folks, because of what happened here at the end of 2018, when the market dropped 15%, they lost $90,000 to $100,000 of that portfolio in just a couple of months.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand now, what are their options at age 62, at age 61, where they have 2 to 3 years left to work, and what would we recommend when we talk about their plans?
So if we take a look at that, Chad, know your 401k options. And again, that's the key, educating yourself and know what options you have out there are today.
And when you look at this, really what we always talk about, keep it simple. It doesn't have to be a 40-page retirement plan. John, his 401k, he now knows he has an age-based rollover in-service withdrawal available to roll that out to an IRA and still keep adding to that 401k and rebuild that game plan for future income needs, for his risk tolerance now, maybe liquidity needs in the future, and also lifestyle goals.
So if we take a look here, when we talk about that $1 million, $500,000, it could be $100,000, it doesn't matter. As you get closer to retirement, you want to separate that money into 2 different buckets, the secure bucket and the growth bucket. You want to make sure that you have enough money sitting in that secure bucket. If this market has a 10, 15, or a 20% correction, you want to know that that money is protected. Also, the money that's sitting in that secure bucket is going to give you the income you need to live off of each and every month for the rest of your life, no matter how long you or your spouse live. And once you have that set up, then we can have some money, Chad, sitting in that growth bucket, where if it drops 10 to 15%, it's not as big a deal. Why? because it's not going to affect our income. We know that we have money sitting on the secure side, and we know eventually over time that money will come back. And when it comes back, then we can harvest some of those gains. But as Chad mentioned, it's about keeping it simple, having that secure bucket and that growth bucket, but it all comes back to one thing. You have to make sure that you have that plan for retirement. And in this situation, Chad, with the clients that you were dealing with, their advisor basically, when the market dropped 15%, he took them from one bucket of risk and moved them around, says, hey, we're going to move some things around, but really all they did is took you from one bucket of risk to another bucket of risk. But still, if that market drops, they still stand to lose a lot of money.
So as you're rebuilding this plan, understand what we talked about earlier with the fees for that game plan, with the risk that you're building that game plan for. Be more connected and know those options inside those plans.
Do you need help adjusting your mindset and game plan for your 401k or company plan? Are you taking on too much risk with your hard-earned dollars that you've worked all your life to accumulate? If so, we encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play.
If you have any questions about today's show, or if you'd like for us to discuss a new topic, just like we did today, email us at askchad@slaglefinancial.com to have your questions answered on the show. We'll be right back with some of the key takeaways from today.
Your host, the coach, Chad Slagle, and join
I'll be with you guys in just a few minutes.
When it comes to your health, your life, your family, your home, and your hard-earned dollars, of course you want to make sure you're working with that sharp, energetic, knowledgeable individual that is always looking out for your best interest.
Such short notice, appreciate it.
Thanks. It's time to get your financial house in order.
This is the new age of retirement planning. In the Wall Street world, that's what they talk about. You got to have equity.
Back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through
We
retirement.
are Slagle Financial. Call now, 888-294-9248.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We've gone over some great questions and concerns from you, our viewers, today. What would you say, Chad, are some of the key takeaways?
Number one, Wendy, as always, be aware of the fees that you're paying on all of your investments. Number two, understand the risk you're taking and how to reduce it as you get closer to retirement. And number three, know the benefits of an in-service withdrawal to help you build a game plan for your retirement and take control of your hard-earned dollars.
Slagle Financial and their team of advisors have educational events coming up in your area to make sure you are prepared for today's retirement. For more information and to sign up for one of these events, call 888-294-9248 or visit chadslagleshow.com.
Remember, folks, success is waking up in the morning, whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter how old or young you are, and bounding out of bed because there's something out there that you love to do, that you believe in, that you're good at, and you can hardly wait to get at it again today. At Slagle Financial, we realize that this is bigger than our team. It's about educating you, the public, and our wonderful clients, and empowering you to make better decisions with your hard-earned dollars. From my colleague, Chad Tobin, my co-host, Wendy Erickson, this is the coach, Chad Slagle. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.
Clothing for the Chad Slagle Show is provided by AL Custom Clothiers, a custom men's clothier that understands the value of offering our customers the best for less. ALCustomClothiers.com or 314-570-6000.